I caught her lying about a girls' trip. She didn't even apologize, just sighed. Look, my 20s are for fun, my 30s are for settling down with a guy like you. I said, I appreciate the heads up. Then I made sure her fun was exposed to her entire family. When she was finally ready to settle down, she found out the guy like me had already found someone who valued him in her 20s. I've always believed that a person's character isn't defined by the big, dramatic moments, but by the small, everyday choices they make. Do you tell the truth when a lie would be easier? Do you show up when you say you will? Do you respect the person who has your back? For 3 years, I thought my girlfriend Hannah was a person who made good choices. We were building a life together in a house that I owned, a house I had worked double shifts for years to afford. I thought we were on the same page, building a future based on the simple, solid principles of loyalty and honesty. I now understand that we weren't building the same thing at all. I was building a home, and she was just using it as a hotel between parties. Hannah had a life philosophy that she was very proud of. She called it living in the moment. What it actually meant was that she avoided responsibility at all costs. She had a part-time job as a hostess at a trendy restaurant, which she claimed was for the social experience, but which really just gave her enough cash for new outfits and nights out with her friends. I handled the mortgage, the bills, the car insurance, the groceries, the entire boring architecture of adult life. I didn't see it as a burden. I saw it as my role in our partnership. I was the provider, the stable ground. I thought she appreciated that. The truth is, she didn't appreciate it. She just expected it. The first sign that something was seriously wrong was her sudden announcement of a spontaneous girls' trip to Miami. It was for a long weekend. She and her 2 best friends, she said, had found an amazing last-minute deal and just had to go. She was buzzing with excitement, talking about the beaches, the clubs, the outfits she was going to buy. I was happy for her. I wanted her to have fun. I just had one nagging question. Miami is pretty expensive, hon. I said casually one night. Even with a deal on the flight, the hotels and everything else add up. Are you sure you've got it covered? She waved her hand dismissively. Oh, don't worry about it. My parents are helping out. They said I deserve a little fun. This struck me as odd. Her parents were good, hard-working people, but they weren't the type to just hand over $1,000 for a spontaneous party weekend. But I let it go. I chose to believe her. That was my mistake. She left on a Thursday, and the apartment felt quiet and peaceful without her. On Saturday afternoon, I was doing some cleaning and came across her tablet, which she had left on the nightstand. The screen was dark, but as I moved it, it lit up. It was open to her photo gallery. She had it synced with her phone, so the pictures she was taking in Miami were appearing on the screen. Curiosity got the better of me. I tapped on the album. The first few pictures were what I expected. Her and her friends on the beach, holding colorful drinks. But as I scrolled, the pictures changed. Her friends disappeared. Suddenly, it was just her and a guy I had never seen before. A tall, conventionally handsome guy with a slick haircut and a smug smile. There were pictures of them at a fancy dinner, a picture of them on a boat, a picture of them laughing with his arm wrapped tightly around her waist. And then I saw the last photo. It was a selfie, taken in a hotel room. Hannah was in the foreground, making a kissy face at the camera. In the background, reflected in the mirror on the wall, was the same guy, shirtless, lying on the bed. I felt a strange, cold calm spread through me. It wasn't the explosive anger you see in movies. It was a quiet, heavy certainty, the kind you feel when you finally accept a truth you've been avoiding. The girls' trip was a lie. The whole thing was a lie. I didn't delete the photos. I didn't smash the tablet. I took out my own phone and with a steady hand, took pictures of every single incriminating image. I documented the evidence. Then I put her tablet back on the nightstand, exactly where I had found it. When she got home on Sunday night, she was tanned and glowing. She breezed in, dropped her bags, and gave me a quick peck on the cheek. "I'm so exhausted," she declared, "but it was the best trip ever. You would have been so bored." I waited until she had unpacked her new clothes. I waited until she had told me all her fake stories about the clubs and the beaches. Then I walked over to her, my face unreadable. "So who's the guy?" I asked, my voice completely level. She froze, a new bikini still in her hands. What guy?" she stammered. "The guy on the boat," I said. "The guy in the hotel room mirror. The guy who wasn't your girlfriend's." The color drained from her face. She knew she was caught, but there was no apology. There was no remorse. After a moment of panicked silence, she just sighed. It was a long, weary, put-upon sigh, as if I was the one creating a problem. "Look," she said, dropping the bikini on the bed and turning to face me with her hands on her hips. "It's not a big deal. It was just some fun. My 20s are for fun, you know? My 30s are for settling down with a guy like you." And there it was, the most honest and most insulting thing she had ever said to me. I wasn't her partner. I was her retirement plan. I was the boring, reliable stock she planned to cash in when she was done playing the market. I was a guy like you, stable, dependable, and, in her eyes, a complete fool. I just stared at her for a long moment. I felt nothing but a cold, clear sense of purpose. "I appreciate the heads up," I said. She looked relieved. She thought my quiet response meant I was accepting her twisted logic. She thought I was just going to take it. "Good," she said, a little smirk playing on her lips. "I'm glad you're not going to be all dramatic about this." "Oh, I won't be," I said, a slow, easy smile spreading across my face. "But you will be." I turned and walked out of the room. She had just given me a 10-year timeline for her own life. I was about to make sure the next 10 years were nothing like what she had planned. Update 1. My plan was not about immediate, explosive revenge. That's what Hannah would have done. My plan was a slow burn. It was a quiet, meticulous demolition of the one thing she valued more than anything, her image, especially in the eyes of her family. Hannah's parents, the Millers, were wonderful people. They were kind, traditional, and deeply proud of their daughter. They adored me. To them, I was the responsible, stable man who was going to give their daughter the secure future they always wanted for her. They had no idea their daughter was a lying, perhaps manipulative user who saw me as a placeholder. This perception was Hannah's greatest asset, and it was the first thing I was going to destroy. The perfect opportunity was just a few weeks away. Her mother's 60th birthday party. It was going to be a huge family affair, a catered event at her parents' house with dozens of relatives and close family friends. It was the perfect stage. I spent the next 2 weeks playing the part of the dutiful, slightly wounded but ultimately forgiving boyfriend. I told Hannah that I had thought about what she said and that while it hurt, I understood her need to have fun. She bought it completely. In her mind, she had successfully managed the situation. She had her fun, and she still had her stable, clueless boyfriend waiting at home. Her arrogance made her careless. While she was living in her fantasy world, I was preparing my presentation. I took the photos I had saved from her tablet and I created a small, elegant photo album. Not a digital one, a physical one. I went to a high-end print shop and had the pictures printed on glossy, high-quality photo paper. The album started with the innocent pictures of her and her friends on the beach. Then it slowly transitioned. The picture of her and the guy at dinner, the picture on the boat. And for the grand finale, on the very last page, the selfie from the hotel room, with his shirtless reflection clearly visible in the mirror. I didn't add any text. I didn't write any angry captions. The photos told the entire story on their own. I wrapped the photo album in beautiful, festive birthday paper and attached a small, elegant card. The card read, "Dear Mrs. Miller, happy 60th birthday. I wanted to give you a gift that truly captures the spirit of your daughter's recent adventures. I hope you enjoy this look into the fun she's been having. With warmest regards, Tom." The day of the party arrived. I drove with Hannah to her parents' house, playing the part of the perfect partner. I helped her carry in her gift. I made small talk with her aunts and uncles. I was a wolf in sheep's clothing. The moment for presents came after dinner. The family gathered in the living room. Mrs. Miller sat in a chair, surrounded by a mountain of gifts. Hannah was right next to her, beaming, acting as the master of ceremonies. I waited until she had opened most of her other gifts. Then, I stepped forward with my perfectly wrapped present. "This one is for me, Mrs. Miller," I said with a warm smile. "I hope you like it." Hannah smiled at me, a proud, proprietary smile. "Look at my wonderful boyfriend, so thoughtful." Her mother carefully unwrapped the gift. She saw the beautiful leather-bound photo album and her face lit up. "Oh, how lovely," she said. Is this from your trip to the lake? Something like that, I said quietly. She opened the album. The first few pages were met with smiles. Oh, look at the girls on the beach. You look so happy, honey. Hannah puffed out her chest with pride. Then her mother turned the page. Her smile faltered. She was looking at the picture of Hannah and the mystery man at dinner. She looked up at Hannah, a confused expression on her face. Who is this, dear? Hannah's face went pale. She leaned over to look at the album. Her eyes widened in horror. Her mother, still confused, turned another page, the boat picture, then another, the hotel robe picture. With each turn of the page, the color drained further from Mrs. Miller's face. The entire room had gone silent, watching this strange, tense drama unfold. Finally, she turned to the last page, the hotel room selfie. There was no mistaking it. It was a picture of pure, undeniable infidelity. Mrs. Miller closed the album with a sharp snap. She looked at her daughter, her face a mask of cold, quiet fury. Then she looked at me. There was no anger in her eyes when she looked at me, only a deep, profound sadness and understanding. I didn't need to say a word. I just gave a small, sad nod. Hannah, Mr. Miller said, his voice like thunder in the silent room. Upstairs, now. Hannah, for the first time in her life, was speechless. She looked around at the faces of her entire family, all staring at her with shock and disgust. Her perfect image was shattered. She had been exposed in the most public and humiliating way possible in front of everyone she cared about. She burst into tears and ran from the room. I stood up. Well, I said to the stunned crowd, I believe my work here is done. Thank you all for the lovely evening. I walked out of that house, got in my car, and drove away. I didn't look back. The first phase of my revenge was complete. I had not only ended the relationship, I had destroyed her reputation with the one group of people she thought would always be on her side. Update 2. The immediate aftermath of the birthday party incident was exactly what I had planned. A controlled demolition of Hannah's support system. I made myself a ghost. I blocked her number, blocked her parents, and blocked any of her friends who tried to contact me. I wanted no part of the ensuing family drama. I had lit the fuse. Now I was just going to watch the explosion from a safe distance. The story came back to me, as it always does, through a friend of a friend. The scene at her parents' house after I left was apparently apocalyptic. Her father, a quiet, principled man, was beyond furious. He wasn't just angry about the cheating, he was furious about the depth of the deception. The fact that she had used their money to fund her lies, and the public humiliation she had brought upon their family, especially on her mother's 60th birthday. They confronted her with the photo album, and she tried every trick in her book. She lied, she cried, she tried to blame me. But the photographic evidence was undeniable. Her parents weren't just disappointed, they were disgusted. They laid down the law. She was to move out of my house immediately. They would help her find a small, basic apartment, but the days of them funding her fun were over. She was to get a full-time job and start paying her own bills. They were forcing her to become the adult she had been pretending to be. A week later, as promised, her father supervised her moving her things out of my house. I was not there. I left a key with the landlord. The house felt clean and quiet when I returned. It felt like my own again. The next few years were a period of rebuilding for me. I focused on my work, I traveled, I reconnected with friends. I dated casually, but didn't get into any serious relationships. I was rebuilding my own foundation, on my own terms. I learned to value honesty and integrity above all else. About 2 years after the breakup, I met someone. Her name was Emily. She was smart, funny, kind, and incredibly down-to-earth. She was a landscape architect, a builder in her own right. She was in her late 20s, but she had a maturity and a sense of self that Hannah had completely lacked. We started dating, and it was different from the very beginning. It was easy, it was honest. There were no games, no drama. We were a team, building something together. A year later, we were engaged, and 6 months after that, we were married. We bought a new house together, a beautiful place with a big yard for a dog. My life was quiet, but it was a happy, fulfilled quiet. I didn't think much about Hannah. She was a closed chapter, a lesson learned, but the final act of our story was yet to be written. Final update. It has been almost 5 years since I walked out of that birthday party. My wife, Emily, and I have been married for 2 wonderful years. We have a beautiful home, a golden retriever, and a life filled with the kind of simple, genuine happiness I had always wanted. Last month, I received a message on social media from a name I hadn't seen in a very long time. Hannah. Her message was long and rambling. It was a strange mix of apology, nostalgia, and a not-so-subtle sales pitch. She told me she had spent the last few years finding herself. She had gone to therapy. She had a new, serious job in marketing. She apologized for how she had treated me, saying she was young and stupid and didn't know what she had. Then came the real reason for her message. She was turning 30 in a few months. She said she was finally ready to settle down. She wrote, "I've had my fun, and I've realized that all I really want is a good, stable man like you. I know I messed up, but I was hoping maybe we could get a coffee just to talk. I think about you all the time." I read the message, and I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pity. I just felt a profound sense of cosmic irony. Her 10-year plan was right on schedule. Her 20s were for fun. Her 30s were for settling down with a guy like me. She had come back to cash in her retirement plan. I thought about not responding, but I decided she deserved a final, definitive answer. My response was short and simple. "Hi, Hannah," I wrote. "I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm glad to hear you're doing well. You're right. I am a guy who values settling down and building a life with a partner. I found that partner a long time ago. Her name is Emily. We've been happily married for 2 years. She's a wonderful woman who valued me in her 20s, so I didn't have to wait for her 30s. I wish you the best of luck in finding what you're looking for." And to that message, I attached a single photograph. It was a picture from my wedding day. A picture of me and my beautiful wife, Emily, looking at each other with genuine love and happiness. I hit send, and then I blocked her for good. I don't know what her reaction was, and I don't care. My revenge was never about a single moment. It was a long-game strategy. I exposed her lies to her family, which forced her to confront the consequences of her actions. But the real revenge was simply moving on and building a better life without her. I didn't wait around. I didn't hold a grudge. I just took her heads up seriously. She told me she wasn't ready, so I found someone who was. She thought I was a safe bet, a backup plan she could put on a shelf and come back to when she was done playing. She learned the hard way that good men, the guys like me, don't wait around to be someone's second choice. We find someone who chooses us first. Her 20s were for fun, my 30s are for happiness. And I have it, no thanks to her.